everyone, my name's Caitlyn and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if it's your first time here. Today I am excited to be sharing with you some books that made me cry, or at least tear up. I do get emotional when I read books, but I very rarely cry at books. It's a very, very rare book that could make me cry or even tear up. So this is going to be kind of a combination of tearing up and actual full-on crying. So let's jump right into it. I tried to put these to list these in the order that I read them. I think it's pretty close, and there may very well have been more. Some of these, it's been quite a while since I read them, so I may not remember that much about them, but here we go. I will do my best. So the first one is Undeniably Yours by Becky Wade. This is book 1 in her Porter family series. And this book is about Meg, who inherits her estranged father's estate and oil company, I think. Yeah, I think it was an oil company, whatever. He was an oil man, I think. I'm pretty sure. And so they did not have a great relationship, and she has not had great relationships in her life, and she meets Beau, who happens to be the manager of her father's racehorse stable, and that she doesn't see any reason to keep around. And so he kind of takes it on as his mission to convince her to keep the stable going. And why it's important, because she's afraid of horses. That's part of it. That's part of her deal. But she struggles with anxiety. She has anxiety attacks, but the faith journey that she goes on, and some things that happen in the book, some twists that occur, and how she handles them, what she does, and then ultimately what that leads to in the end, the very end of the book, is what made me cry. Like the very last, either the last chapter or the epilogue. I think it was an epilogue. I think there's an epilogue in this book. And that is what made me cry, because it was just so beautiful. It was so beautiful to see how God brought things full circle in her story. So that's the first one. And the next one is A Song Unheard by Roseanna M. White. This is book 2 in her Shadows Over England series. This is a series about a family of siblings who are actually not biologically related at all. They are all, they're actually a family of thieves. And the 3 books in the series follow 3 of the oldest siblings. And it's just really great. This one is about Willa, and she is a violin prodigy. And so in each of the stories of the series, the main character, that's the thief, gets tasked with stealing something, going and finding and retrieving something, working undercover with the mysterious Mr. V that sends them on missions and jobs and whatnot. And so Willa's mission is to steal an original composition that has never been seen. So a song unheard. That's where the title comes from. But Willa's faith journey, Willa she just cannot fathom God being a good father. She just can't, because of her own struggles that she went through with her own father before she became an orphan and everything, that she cannot believe that God could love her personally. And so her salvation story, and when she gets to the moment of realizing that, it had me in tears, because it was so powerful and touched my heart so deeply. So that's that one. The next one is, of course, Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers. This book, I think this book had me in tears several times, but especially when key scene right near the end, that it just, the floodgates just opened. And the thing you'll find is that in most of these books, what made me cry was when the book touched my heart, because I could see myself kind of reflected in it. So like it was relatable to me, and it felt like, oh my gosh, there's my heart on the page. So yeah, that was definitely in many ways the case with Redeeming Love. Yeah, I love it so much. Again, I never blanket recommend it to anybody, but yeah. So that was the next one. The next one is Bring Her Home by Hannah Currie. And this one is about a princess named Evangeline who is the king's middle daughter, oldest daughter, I can't remember which, but it's medieval, but it's set in like a fictional country. And yeah, she runs away from home, and the king sends out his most loyal knights to bring her home. And yeah, she had a fight with her father right before she left, and now it jumps forward like 5 years, I think it's like 5 years, 4 or 5 years, something like that. And yeah, it's just her story now is just, oh my goodness, it is so powerful. And it's a retelling of the prodigal son parable. So which obviously it's a prodigal daughter in this case, but the way her father loves her and keeps loving her and keeps pursuing her even when she runs away because she doesn't believe that he could ever forgive her and ever love her, is a beautiful picture of how so many of us are with God. And it's like, yes, it is the characters, but it is also the allegory and the parable of it. And it just, when it hits you, it had me bawling because I was like, oh my goodness, this is how my Heavenly Father thinks of me. And it just touched me deeply. So yeah, there's that one. Highly, highly recommended. I still need to finish that series, but that one is so good. Trigger warning, there are mental health struggles, depression, and also self-harm in that book. So those are things to be aware of if that would be triggering for you, but it's so powerful. Okay, next up is All That It Takes by Nicole Deese. This is the second book after All That Really Matters, which also was very touching to me, but the heroine's story in this book that's what brought me to tears. It really did. It really made me tear up. And while it is not reflective of my own story in basically any way, I really don't have pretty much anything in common with her other than being a writer. She is a filmmaker, but I write in words, I write stories, but I could relate to her story on that level. And yeah, it was just such a beautiful story. Such a beautiful story of how God can use you to further his kingdom and to serve people wherever you are. And I love that you don't have to, and that's not to say that God may not call you to go somewhere else and do something else, but he can absolutely use you exactly where you are, because I believe strongly that he does place us where we are for a reason, for a purpose. And I love that is such a big part of this story as well. Okay, the next one is a nonfiction. It's the only nonfiction on this list, and that is The Day the World Came to Town, and I cannot remember the author's name, but all the pictures, as you'll have seen, are up here because I was too lazy to grab the books and bring them to the library with me. Just being real. So yeah, this is about Gander, Newfoundland on 9/11, and all of the flights that ended up getting stranded there because they were diverted because U.S. airspace being closed. They all had to land somewhere. So a lot of them, I think like 38 or 36, 30 something planes ended up landing in Gander, and I think it tripled or doubled or tripled the population temporarily. And it just blew me away. These remarkable true stories of the way the people in Gander took complete strangers in and loved them it's not a faith-driven book. Obviously, it's a secular book, but they showed them, whether that was their purpose or not, they showed them the love of Jesus, and it just blew me away and made me cry a number of times at the incredible love of the people in Gander. And I'm like, wow, I want to be that selfless. I want to love like that. So yeah, it's very, very powerful, very emotional, and I highly recommend it if you haven't read it. They also did make a musical out of it called Come From Away, I believe. I have not seen it yet, but I do plan to watch that at some point. But yeah, highly recommend the book. Okay, the next one is Hope Like Wildflowers by Pepper Basham. This is book 3 in her My Heart Belongs in the Blue Ridge series, and this is about Kizzy McAdams. And so each book in the series follows a different sibling in the McAdams family. So we had Laurel in book 1, and then Jeb in book 2, and now Kizzy in book 3. Now Kizzy had been mentioned in books 1 and 2, but we had not seen her. We had never met her. And I was greatly anticipating her story because we knew from the previous books that she had gotten pregnant out of wedlock and been basically run out of town by her family, her dad mainly. And so you don't know, because they don't know what happened to her. They don't know where she is. They don't know if she's safe. They don't know. So that was definitely a source of sorrow for the family in the first 2 books. So to finally get Kizzy's story in book 3, it just, oh my goodness, it is over the moon incredible and powerful and just heart-tugging and heartwarming, and it's just perfection. It truly is. And the amazing thing, it was actually based off of Pepper's great, I think, I'm probably going to mess this up, but I think it's her great-great-grandmother's story. And so there, you definitely want to be sure to read the author's note at the end of that book, because she goes into a great amount of detail about what was factual and what were things that she fictionalized for the fictional Kizzy, and what the specifics were of what actually happened, or what is known of what happened in her story in real life. And it's just incredible and so beautiful, and I'm so grateful that Pepper shared Kizzy's story with us all, because yeah. And what got me, like the whole thing like choked me up, but what really got me and made me start sobbing was the ending, which if you know, you know, and if you don't, then you need to read it. But I would highly recommend reading the series in order, starting with Laurel's Dream, because I think it will be, while the books do stand alone, I think it would be so much more meaningful to read them in order. Yeah, so so beautiful. Okay, and then the last one is one that I actually just finished at the end of February, and that is An Overdue Match by Sarah Monzon. Now, this is about a librarian named Evangeline. So there are 2 Evangelines in this video, which that's interesting. I didn't plan that, and I didn't realize that until just now, but that's interesting. Anyway, so she is a librarian, and she has alopecia. And it's alopecia universalis, I think is what it is. So she has actually lost all of the hair on her entire body. And as a result of that, her fiance broke up with her. Yeah, yeah. He's a guy you want to purse swamp, trust me. Yeah. So she moved to another town, a little town in Tennessee. She moved away from Chattanooga, where she grew up, and is working at this library. And she winds up, because she has accepted, she wears a wig and fake false eyelashes and tattoo eyebrows to work, because she is ashamed of what she looks like. And her self-worth is so incredibly low, and she doesn't consider herself beautiful or worthy of love in any way. And so she's decided that since she is not will not ever find love and romance, that she will she will help other people to find romance, and so she starts using patrons' checkout histories to matchmake them. But it doesn't go so well because she's new to the area, so she doesn't like know like the nuances and stuff, and maybe like who is related to who and who's, you know, actually dating who, or, you know, are they actually already attached and you're just, you know, causing problems for them. So she gets into some foibles. It is hilariously funny, as is everything that Sarah writes. So she meets this guy named Ty, who is a tattoo artist, and appears on the surface. He wears a leather jacket. He appears to be the total bad boy guy. But she starts getting to know him. He starts pursuing her, and yeah, there's a lot more to him than meets the eye. So he strikes up a deal with her that when he finds out what she is up to, he strikes a deal with her that he will help kind of educate her about the town and, you know, help her along in her matchmaking if she will agree to go out with him. So she does. And yeah, it's just such a sweet story. It's such a sweet story. It's so beautiful. He is just so tender and gentle with her in the way that he encourages her and eventually helps her to see how loved and beautiful she is. Just blows me away. It is just so beautiful. And there's a scene near the end where she goes to the grocery store, and that's all I'll say. And that scene had me in tears because it was just so beautiful and so powerful, and I just loved it so much. So I highly, highly recommend this book. It is one of my very favorite books of the year so far. I already know it's going to be in the top 5, and yeah, I highly, highly recommend that you check it out. So yeah, so that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!